Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be looking at the cerebrum. So the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. Okay, it is made up of both gray matters and white matter. Now if you could remember, when I was talking about the central nervous system, I talked about the gray matter and the white matter. So the gray matter is basically made up of cell body or soma, right? So you have a neuron here with an axon and the terminal. So this is the cell body, this is the axon, and this is the terminal. And this will always want to interact with another neuron, right? Now, this part, the soma, or called the cell body, makes up the gray matter. The gray matter, all right? Now, the axon makes up the white matter. And that is because of the insulation, which is called myelin sheath. So when the myelin sheath is wrapped around the axon, the myelin sheath is actually made up of fat, and fat is white. So that is why it is white matter. Okay, so the white matter is basically the axon, and the gray matter is the cell body or soma. All right, moving forward. The cerebrum is actually divided into four parts. All right, these parts, this, and this, and these are like compartments. All right, so this is called the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe. All right, this part is also called the parietal lobe. Parietal lobe. Okay, this part is called the occipital lobe. So let's label that occipital lobe. Okay, now this last part is called the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe. All right, now lest I forget, this part is made up of gray matter. Okay, so action potential, the main generation of action potential happens in the gray matter. Now, this other part is made up of white matter, which are just like highways that transmit these impulses that is generated at the hillock of the axon. Okay, all right. Going forward, these lobes are divided by what we call the sulcus, and there are different types of sulcus. Now, this one here, the one that divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe, is called the central sulcus. It's called the central sulcus. Central sulcus. Okay? Now, it divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. And the next I'm going to talk about is this one here, this one in green. So this one is called, this is called the lateral sulcus. Lateral sulcus. Now, what does it do? It divides the, it separates the parietal lobe from the temporal lobe, and also it separates the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe. So it does two things actually. It separates the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe, and also separates the parietal lobe rather from the temporal lobe, and its frontal lobe from the temporal lobe. So these are the separations, these are the divisions. This first one for the parietal lobe, and this second one for the frontal lobe. All right, so that's that. And the next sulcus we're going to talk about is this. And this is called the parietal occipital sulcus. Parietal occipital sulcus, it separates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. Okay. So the last one is not actually a division. This now is not actually it's like an imaginary line. All right, it is drawn from the temporal lobe. So you would observe that there's a bulge in here. It comes up, right, just above the cerebellum. Okay, and that is called the pre-occipital notch. The pre-occipital notch. Right? Now, what it does is that it actually separates the temporal lobe from the occipital lobe. So if you want to draw that imaginary line, you put it this way. Okay, so that imaginary line separates the temporal lobe from the occipital lobe. Okay, so these are parts of the cerebrum. Okay, now in my next video, I'm going to be talking about the function of each part of the cerebrum. Okay, so thank you and see you in my next video.